Betsy et al. Family. It's me, Natalie. This is something new I'm going to do for you today because today's a special day, as you all know. It is Ken's 90th birthday, if I'm correct. 1934, I believe. I have these things on my calendar because, as you also know, for the past many years, Ken, your husband, your father, has been a very, influential guru of spirit sorts in my life and in my worlds, of which I refer to as the parallel skies. So I wanted to try something different today. I've been doing something different. I continue to follow what I refer to as, angels, okay? And in the recent past several months, I've been led to begin videoing these messages and have received a lot of positive feedback in these videos because you can actually get more of a sense beyond just my written words. So I figured, today's the perfect day, my mom goes crazy. She's like, oh my God, please don't share this kind of stuff with the Swan family, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do this because you all already know who Natalie is, and you already know that I'm a little out there. And yet the truth is, what's so wrong about being a little bit out there when the reality is heaven is everywhere? So not just for me, it's for anyone in this life who seeks to believe that we do become angels. When I'm going to connect with a soul, it is a mere thought. Okay, you've heard that before, I'm sure, with prayer. They say, a prayer is just a mere thought. All you have to do is think it. Well, I definitely know heaven hears our thoughts. And it's not just prayers, but our thoughts do become prayers. You'll see me keep looking around as I'm doing this message because I do live on a farm and I've got, my chickens are kind of free ranging, but I've got my little baby. She's not a baby anymore. My big chicken with me out here. So I got to keep an eye on her. Happy birthday, Ken. I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Ken is not he was not a man in this life to waste any time. And yet how beautiful for Ken that now he's all these years been living with no time. Isn't that what we want here in life? More time, right? I find it rather beautiful. Ken, as I've shared with you in the past, is much of a poet, and I love the words that I do receive from him. When I refer to Ken as a him, note that that is my habit, because the reality is once we pass, and we are no longer in body form in this life, we are not a he or a she. We are a abundance of energy, a source of energy, just energy. That is one of my habits, and I don't think heaven really minds that I haven't broken that habit yet, out of all my habits, right? My first thought was, happy birthday, Ken. And boom, just like that. Before I could even get those thoughts, and they didn't even come out of my mouth, it was in my mind, happy birthday, Ken. Boom, as soon as those thoughts went through my mind, there was Ken, connecting right to my soul. And what Ken first presented me with was a vision. And when I refer to visions, what I mean is they're not coming through my physical eyes here. We all know, again, that Natalie's a little bit different, but I'm not the only one in this world who claims to connect to spirit. I don't claim to do anything. I do connect with spirit. I've been doing this for, more than half of my life now. My sharings of spirit communications haven't been quite half of my life, but, for many, many years of my life now. And I love that I'm able to deliver such messages to life from loved ones who were once in this life with us. The first vision that Ken gave me as soon as I said, happy birthday, Ken, was this very, okay, it was a birthday cake, and it was like huge, okay? So here's like the back of my barn here. The cake was bigger than that. I couldn't even see the cake in the vision. It was like this. It wasn't even the whole, It was this massive cake. It was just a whole vision of a cake, but I knew it was a cake because there was like 1 trillion candles on this cake. Candles everywhere. I mean, you couldn't even count the candles. And so I smiled when I first saw this vision. There is nothing about Ken as an angel that is as if, okay? So when I'm talking of how I connect with Ken, it's not as if Ken is saying these things to me. There's no as ifs about it. And Ken was not a as if man or being in this life. Without a doubt, he was not a as if soul. He was very matter of fact. Well, a scientist, isn't that what doctors are, right? So matter of fact is how Ken is. So there is no as if. Everything that I'm going to share here with you is real. I actually connected with Ken, I don't know, maybe about half an hour ago or so. And then what I do is I actually, the ways that I've learned, for me anyway, is, you know, I type as I'm connecting on my phone. And then, you know, once the message is there, then I can go ahead and do the message on video. At that point, Ken was kind of standing there in a vision with my third eye vision, kind of like, go ahead, Natalie, take a piece of the cake. Betsy, I know you remember that vision I shared with you many years ago where Ken took me to the top of a mountain and you were like, Natalie, I can't even relate to this. Betsy, I couldn't relate to that moment. That was one of the grandest moments of my life, that Ken took me on from life to heaven to visit a mountain with no name. A mountain in heaven. That was a most amazing experience. So as Ken is saying to me, go ahead, take a slice of this cake, you know, he's like, well, go ahead and take like 3 pieces, you know, go ahead and take 3. And I'm like, okay, you know, and he's just like, enjoy, Natalie, enjoy. He said it in such a fatherly, like, you know, fun way, but it was just it was a very giving way. And that is how Ken was in life, was very giving, obviously, as anybody who is in the medical field, as a healthcare worker, as a doctor, as somebody who's saving people's lives and working with people in life. Ken is very much so the same soul in heaven. And yet the greatest thing for Ken in heaven is that there is no time. He doesn't have to rush. He doesn't have to worry. He's always on time and he's always there. You know, interestingly enough, when Ken first began connecting with me many years ago, you know, I couldn't make sense of it. I was like, okay, you know, and yet I'm so grateful that I've been able to share this journey with you, Betsy, and your family, because, well, it's a most special moment to be able to talk to angels and to know that many of the things I delivered to you, I believe, you know, in your own way. Maybe you couldn't validate if you don't like that word, but they made sense to you. You know, I'll never forget the orange dress, Betsy, and the rooftops and smoking cigarettes and drinking, you know. That was amazing to me. At one point I heard Ken earlier when I was connecting with his soul from heaven. It wasn't Ken, but I heard the words in the background. They're not through my ears, you know. I don't know about a third ear or whatever, but, you know, I don't study what I do, and yet I am led to discover a lot of what I do. So I can't really explain it all, you know, in such ways. But I heard, rev your engines. What, you know, and all of a sudden I hear very specifically it was motorcycles. Okay, you see, when I connect with spirit, many and most of the spirit I connect to, I don't even know. I never knew in life. The difference with Ken is that I knew Ken in life. And so a lot of times when I'm connecting with Ken, I have to make sure that I don't allow my mind to come in and start taking over what my soul is receiving from Ken. Okay. You could see me right here, right now. So Ken is, he's here right now, okay? And when I say Ken is here right now, I don't mean he's like standing in front of me. He's not there. I don't see him. What I mean is his energy is here. And I know his energy is with all of you. His soul is with all of you. His soul is present in all of your life, your lives, your days, everything. He sees his grandchildren growing up. He sees his daughters and his son and all their achievements. And he wants for his family to, he doesn't use the word continue. I'm not sure exactly what your family thinks of these connections. I don't know. And that's not for me to say. I'm not here to prove anything. I'm not here to preach anything. I'm not here to validate anything. In receiving such spirit messages, it is literally up to you to decipher and to choose which venues you end up following on such paths. But the reality is, what our loved ones in heaven want for us in life is to continue seeking the trinkets and treasures, the breadcrumbs of life, like a fairy tale, like Hansel and Gretel. Breadcrumbs, metaphorically speaking, would, look for signs, look for numbers, anything that captures your attentions in life in an unusual or unexpected way is heaven. Not necessarily Ken, but is heaven delivering a message to life for you. It is up to us to seek, to yearn, to be aware, to keep looking up and all those things, to find. So as I hear rev your engines, I kind of, in my third eye, I kind of turn to the side and I see Ken, and he's dressed in all leather attire. Okay, he has a leather jacket on, he has leather pants on, and it was really bizarre because at first it was all black, like you would think of a motorcycle biker, and all black, and yet boom, just as it was all black, then it was all white. And it was kind of funny to see Ken wearing an all white leather biker outfit. Ken likes to make me laugh. I know he wants his family to laugh. That is his greatest divine joy, is seeing his family laugh, hearing his family laugh, and being present in such moments. Ken is my number one guru. I don't even know what the word guru means, okay? Ken gave me this word. Guru, what is that? He's my main man. He's my head honcho from heaven. My number one lead man, my lead angel. Ken, in the very beginning, this was many, many years ago, Ken opened my whole being to a whole new world and many different levels. Going back to that time when he had me climb that mountain, and I shared with you, Betsy, what was that? I kind of looked around. I was like, is there a camera on me? Because I know this isn't real, but it is so real, I get that. I understand that it's hard for people to relate to such sharings of, I climbed a mountain in heaven with your dad, with your husband, with somebody that you love. I understand. And yet I also know that Ken understands. And for me, in the worlds that I share my time with, I kind of really rather seek divine judgment rather than life judgment. Ken knows what's going on. At one point, Ken said to me, while I was debating on whether to even do this video for you because of the whole mind thing coming in with my mom saying, oh my golly, don't embarrass me with the swans, I kind of was hesitating. And at that point I heard, Ken, again, he wasn't even speaking. A lot of my connections with spirit are more like charades ways. You've played the game charades before. The level of speed, there is no speed. These messages that come through, I can receive an entire lifetime. There's no way our mind, and as doctors you know this, there's no way our mind could even begin to capture that level of speed that's coming through, like beyond the speed of light. It's divine speed. The only way to capture these visions and words unspoken, unheard through, you know, such physical features of our being, they are divine. I've told you before in the past that Ken is a poet. I don't know if Ken was a poet in life. I don't really know. I always thought of Ken as a very serious, kind of goofy but serious man. You know, you don't want to get on Ken's bad side. So it kind of was like really a beautiful, warming moments for me many years ago when Ken began sharing a lot of his words with me. He said, intelligence is a matter of knowing. I said, okay, why are you telling me this? Part of this message today is for me. Part of this message is for you. The intelligence is a matter of knowing. I do believe Ken was saying that as a means of having me move forward to continue delivering this message to you. I know I've shared with you in the past also, Ken has this funny smile that I've referred to as the Mr. Roper smile, like from the show Three's Company. Jack Tripper, Mr. Roper. Wasn't Mr. Roper like silly and goofy? He was like, he just had these silly faces, right? It is the sweetest vision for me whenever Ken shows me this Mr. Roper face, because I know that he is so delighting and enjoying being in heaven with no time. And he loves sharing such humor with life. I'm certain that there are many moments in your family's life that you may not even have ever been aware of. And yet the moment you do become aware of it and you do want to seek that level, part of my whole purpose, part of what Ken is helping me all these years with, is to be able to share with life how it's not just about Natalie. Hey, Natalie might be a whack job. That's okay. She might be a little crazy or a little bit out there, but the reality is what I share is true. It's real. There's just no way to validate it, scientifically speaking. Ken does want his family, you all, to embrace the unknown, not in scientific ways. Embrace the unknown through your soul. He knows you all have a soul, and he loves your souls. Very proud of you. Very, very proud of his entire family. At one point during this vision, and so this video might be like 20-25 minutes long, but the reality is what Ken delivered to me in my real-time life came through in a matter of maybe 1 to 2 minutes. Maybe 1 minute. Boom, it comes, and it's not coming here in my mind, but boom, it comes, and it's absorbed. It's taken right here. And then my mind does come in at that point. I have to utilize to decipher my soul and be able to translate it into words and ways of sharing such visions. So I'm not always right, so to speak, in what I see. And yet what I've learned with Spirit is that if I'm not right and the message is not delivered accurately, well, that soul would continue delivering such messages in different ways until it does capture somebody's attentions in such ways. He showed me a vision of mountains very far off in the distance. It was almost like, are those clouds? No, they were mountains. I was just reading my notes here. I already shared with you, you know, when it's not, I don't say as if it was mountains, you know, it was mountains, okay? But not in my physical eyes views. Ken, at that point, his soul then takes my inner eye visions and has me start to kind of go closer and closer and closer to where I see off in the distance in my internal, you know, eye, these mountains. And when I get up, I hear, it's Mount Everest. I'm not even sure if Ken has ever climbed a mountain. I know he was big into skiing. I don't know if he climbed Mount Everest. I really don't know, but he showed me Mount Everest, and it was quite, I actually got goosebumps. at that point when he showed me, when he zoomed me in so close to these mountains, because then he did look up, he look up, Natalie, just like he did when he had me walk up that mountain, when he invited me to come visit heaven all those years ago to climb a mountain. There were clouds everywhere. The tops, the peaks of these mountains. And I immediately knew without thinking, I knew from my soul, wow, I've been talking about clouds, I talk about mountains quite a bit too, because it is a common deliverance of angels to utilize such visions of mountains to represent, actual messages, okay? So when he shared, Ken, the mountaintops, and he said, he didn't even say anything, look up. He then looked directly into my eyes in this vision, and whenever Spirit looks directly into my eyes, that is a message that is definitely just boom, going straight to whoever the message is really intended for, and it is intended for you, okay? So at that point, Ken said, look up. He wants his family to look up. It's not that heaven is just up. Heaven is everywhere, okay? But Ken wants his family to look up, because in life, often, many of us are always looking down. I'm looking down right now. Look at me. Ken says, look up. I need to look up too, right? Be aware of these things. The more you're aware, the more of these messages will make sense to you. This is a different kind of message today too, because Ken didn't really give a whole lot of specifics, okay? He did, but this is more like, he's like, it's my birthday. Come on, I'm having fun today. And he really just wanted me to get this first video out here to you all so that you could make a little bit more sense of how Natalie does connect with heaven. Mount Everest is known to be a most spiritual, sacred, divine place. There's that word divine again, right? It is a very symbolically spiritual mountain. And it is said that those who seek to climb Mount Everest should not, seek to climb it with pride. They shouldn't seek to climb it so that when they get to the top, they're like, yes, I did it, People who climb Mount Everest have a whole different way of receiving through their soul, and it's a feeling of honor. Much different feeling than a feeling of pride. Ken wants his family to be aware as well. The difference between pride and honor. Ken kind of brought me back to that cake vision again. And on that cake, I couldn't see him, but I saw the candles. They kept the light, the fire on the candles kept kind of going out, but kept going there. And I started to kind of giggle to myself at that point. And then I saw the Mr. Roper smile again with Ken, and he was like, they're trick candles. He's like, I love the trick candles. They never blow out. I don't know if you all ever did this with Ken in real life or anything like that while he was alive. But, I think the most important part of this message for his family today is just for you all today, is to embrace the unknowing in ways that, well, you do know me, and I don't sit here and make up stuff. I am a writer. I do have an imagination. I'm quite creative. I'm not a published author at this point in time, but that's really because I spend most of my time in the parallel skies with Spirit, delivering such messages to life. That is my purpose in this life. It doesn't come with a great salary, and yet there are far greater rewards in life than money in the bank. right? I hope that this message is received in good spirit. I'm certain that it will be, because that is who Ken is good spirit. Just like he was in life, he remains in heaven, and he is a very important man, a VIP, right-hand man to God. Ken is big time. I have seen Ken in visions carrying caskets at funerals. People I didn't even know. Why, Ken, why are you showing me this? I can't deliver this to anybody. I don't know who that is. Ken doesn't always just deliver to me to be delivered to anybody else. Ken delivers to me because he is my guru. And everything that Ken has continued to deliver to me throughout the past many, many years of my life is all amazing, awesome, incredible, and undeniable. I love Ken. Happy 90th birthday, Ken.